Hello, everyone. I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of TJ Moore. He has Michael Jordan as number one, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is number one. So let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Like the gentleman said before, I'm TJ Moore. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so you have Michael Jordan as number one. Feel free to explain if you like.
Yeah, sure, no problem. The reason why Michael Jordan is number one is real simple. It's a number of reasons, and it's kind of how I do things. Impact, like his impact on the game. Number two, we go over stats. We can do that all day. And three, just how basketball seems to evolve with him in the sport. I think it's the same thing as impact, but I'll explain impact-wise. Before Jordan came to the league, it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, which was the early 80s. And to me, the game was looking for the next star. Michael Jordan emerged as the next star for obvious reasons, because not only was it his high-flying dynamics, but his scoring ability and his basketball ability. To me, Michael Jordan is the quintessential. If you think of a GOAT, you want charisma. You want somebody who can not only play, but you also want somebody who can impact the game in a positive manner. Looking at Michael Jordan's stats, 30.1 points a game. I don't think anyone will be able to touch that. That's going to be a hard feat to do.
But they have.
Say it again.
No, but they have. Some of the things you're bringing up about why Michael Jordan is number one, these things are not going to prove he's number one. Stats is something legit. But even how you explain how no one's going to touch his stats, they have touched his stats. They've touched it. Some of them have just as good stats as Michael Jordan or better stats than Michael Jordan.
So there's someone else who averaged 30 points a game for their whole career?
Yes.
Who else?
Well, I mean, I'll explain it to you, man, but if you didn't do the research, I'm just wondering why you have him as number one if you don't know, man. I mean, I'm happy to explain it to you, but did you do the research?
Yeah, I did do some research.
Okay, well, Wilt Chamberlain averaged 30 points a game for his career.
Did you? Oh, Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, okay, you didn't know that, man.
I forgot about Wilt Chamberlain, man. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you.
No problem.
So, yeah, looking at Wilt Chamberlain, you said Wilt Chamberlain averaged 30. Wilt Chamberlain, you can't dismiss Wilt Chamberlain, though, man. That'll be me being. I'm not a hypocrite either, man. Wilt Chamberlain is a different beast, man. Like, you can't dismiss Wilt Chamberlain because of the 100 points. Like how dominant he was for so long and how athletic he was. Like, Wilt Chamberlain was one of the people who was a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Like Michael Jordan, this how I look at it, and maybe it's different than other people. I was born in 91, and I grew up when the Bulls were at the height of their dynasty, and for me, maybe it's jaded. When you talk about Wilt Chamberlain, you're talking about somebody who scored 100 points in a game, somebody who was so dominant that they changed the rules to make him less dominant.
Well, sorry to interrupt you. I got to interrupt you real quick. So, you know, a lot of people know how good Wilt was, man. But, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, but we want to know why you got Michael Jordan as number one, man.
And I'm getting into that. And Wilt, they changed the rules for Wilt. Michael Jordan is number one to me because, well, that's a lot of reasons why Michael Jordan is number one.
Go for it. Take your time, man. It's all
one
right.
of the reasons why Michael Jordan is number one to me is, like I said, you said the numbers and stuff. Like, I get that other people have done it, but to me, Michael Jordan just seemed like the best player on the court every time he played. Like,
you're not talking about just he's the best player on the court when he played. You're talking about all time, and even if you talk about when you talk about when he played, there were other players who were just as good or better than him when they played.
Yeah, no, there has not been too many players that was just as good or better than Jordan when he played.
Well, that's different now. That's different if you say not too many.
It's not too many. It's not too many at all. It might be 3 or 4 if we were to have that conversation. But to me, Michael Jordan, every time he was, every era he played in, late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, even in the 2000s, he was always the best player on the floor.
You acknowledge that he wasn't always the best player on the floor, and then you explained there were 3 or 4.
No,
but then you explained that he was always the best player
on the floor. 100%. He was always the best player on the floor.
Well,
when he played,
that's not true. That's
he wasn't always the best player when he played.
No, there's no way for you to prove that he was always the best player when he played. No.
So if you ran the statistics from 87 to 99, he was not the best player in the league.
No. And even if you believe he was, if you want to go by statistics, now you got to be consistent. If you're claiming, well, hey, he got the best stats whenever he was in the NBA, well, now go to the career. He doesn't have the best stats for the whole career, so why is he the number 1 player of all time?
For his whole career. All right, let me sit here and look. Let me dig a little deeper because I thought my research was good. So basically, what you're saying is that Michael Jordan statistically isn't the best player.
No, I'm
from 87 to 99.
No, I don't think he was the best player statistically, but I also know how Jordan fans think. I know that you got certain stats that you want to go by, and then you assume that those stats are number 1 over everyone else. And you may or may not be right depending on whatever stats you're going by, but if you go by all stats, he does not have the number 1 stats of the 80s and 90s. And again, even if he did, let's say I'm wrong.
What stats are we talking about?
Well, all stats. Even if I'm wrong, let's assume that he does have the best stats of the 80s and 90s. And you're going, hey, he's number 1 in the 80s and 90s, partly because he has the best stats. Okay, now be consistent. The guy who has the best stats of the whole career is not Michael Jordan. I know you thought it was in the beginning, but you know now, I assume that, Wilt has 30 points and maybe you didn't do some research or other stats. So he's not the best player of all time.
I forgot all about Wilt, man. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm like I said, I'm an honest guy.
I appreciate that. I respect that.
I'm listening to you.
I appreciate that. I respect that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, just looking here. So his best year was 87, right? Like, he averaged 37 points a game, 1.5 blocks, 2.9 steals, 4.6 assists per game, and 5.2 rebounds per game, right? Off of 48% shooting and off 40 minutes.
Okay.
So basically, that year he was the best player for sure.
Okay.
88, if I can remember. So 88, he averaged 35. So statistically speaking, Michael Jordan, if he's not the best player, he's one of the best players. He's one of the best players statistically speaking.
Okay.
To ever play the game.
Okay.
So I can't say the best because I'd be lying. But statistically speaking, pound for pound, Michael Jordan's one of the best players to ever play the game. Skill-wise, athletic-wise, mental-wise. And not only, he just had a mentality that was different from every player that he played against. He wanted to kill everybody.
Let me get through this. There's 2 things. First, you were acknowledging that he's not the best player of all time?
No, I'm not saying he's not the best player of all time because that's an opinion, right? So you got the opinion side of it, you got the fact side of it, right? So we're talking about factually, statistically speaking, he's one of the best players to ever do it. I'm not saying
but I'm saying so are you basically acknowledging he's not the best player of all time?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that statistically wise you can't say just looking. You want to say statistically wise? No, you can't. I can't sit up here and say that Michael Jordan himself is the best player of all time because that'll be a lie. Like that's a bald-faced lie, right?
Is that it? You basically admit he's not the number 1 player, though?
To me, he's number 1. To me, yes.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Like he's your favorite?
No, that has nothing to do with favorite. To me, it has to do with, like I said, impact on the game, how he changed stuff, like just his overall, like not only his stats, but the myth of Jordan too. You know what I'm saying?
The myth of Jordan?
Yes, the myth. Look, we always crack these jokes about LeBron James, right? How
LeBron James came up pretty. Michael Jordan fans always bring up LeBron James eventually, but go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So we talk about LeBron James being a GM, right? So LeBron James couldn't be the GM without Michael Jordan being the GM first. Like, he stopped Scottie for being traded and all that stuff. But I digress. That's not my point. The point I'm making is that if we're talking about pound for pound, best player to ever pick up a basketball, it's a change against with style and the things that he did. He's the best player.
Michael Jordan?
We're talking about stats.
Wait, it's on Michael Jordan? Okay. So So I don't know if
we're talking about opinions. That's opinionated.
Well, actually, no. It's not an opinion. It's a claim. When you say Michael Jordan,
a claim. Okay, right. It's a claim.
Yeah. So
okay, right. It's a claim. You're right. It is a claim.
So if you're claiming he's number one, it'd be nice if you could prove it. So far, you haven't proven it, and you've also explained he's pound for pound number one, and you've explained he had the biggest killer, the biggest will to win. There's no way for you to know he's number one pound for pound. There's no way for you to know he's has the number one will to win.
Okay, so I've asked a lot of questions. Who's number one in your opinion?
Well, we can get to that. Well, no, we can get to. If you want me to, I don't want you to think I'm ducking and dodging. We can get to that. But first, let's go back to the other thing. So, is he pound for pound number one, and does he have the biggest will to that whole thing about winning to win?
Yeah, I mean, if Michael Jordan was anything, he was a competitor, man. That's the number one thing about him. Like,
but that's a different topic.
That's why y'all have gambling issues because he competes too much.
Okay, so if he's the pound for pound the number one player,
he has an addictive personality, to the point where he has to win everything. Like that.
Lots of players are like that. You know that.
Absolutely, but dude was a little bit over the top with it, if you ask me. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
No, I'm sure he was. Can you prove that he is pound for pound the best player and he has the biggest will to win?
Can I prove?
Because you're making claims. It'd be nice if you can prove
all right, the flu game.
But now we're cherry picking now.
We're not cherry picking. We're talking about moments where he proved he wanted to play the hardest, right?
It's cherry picking because you can find moments with Michael Jordan just like you can find moments with other stars.
Absolutely. You can find moments for high school players too, but we're talking about.
But we're not talking about high school. But we never debated high school players are better. We're debating NBA players.
Absolutely, we're talking about Michael Jordan. Yes, we're on the same page.
So if you say
you ask me to pick a moment, I'm picking a moment. A moment is the flu game.
Well, no, I didn't ask.
No,
I didn't ask you for a moment. I asked you to prove that he has the biggest will to win. Now, if you're going to give examples, he did this, he did that. That is cherry picking because you're selecting his examples and putting them above all the other legends.
Okay. So, like I said, the flu game is one of the things I can say for sure.
I don't understand. Everything go out the window right now.
No. I mean, what I'm saying is that like Michael Jordan's flu game is like one of the defining moments showing why he wants to win.
Okay.
Like the fact that he bought Charles Barkley a watch to not go hard on him in the finals.
No, I believe Michael Jordan had a will to win.
That's crazy competitive.
No, I agree.
He spent $50,000 on a watch. Charles Barkley was his best in the series.
When I say I agree, what I mean is I agree he had a will to win. I agree that he was one of the legends. He's one of the top players. But how do you know his will is number one over everyone else, and how do you know he's a number one pound for pound player?
He dominated.
Lots of players dominate, but lots of players dominate.
He dominated everybody.
And lots of players dominate everybody.
That's very true, but Jordan dominated everybody he played against. Like there was no way to stop Jordan. There was no way to stop.
There's no way to stop Magic. There's no way to stop Bird. There's no way to stop Wilt Chamberlain. There's no way to stop lots of stars.
Well, we can talk about Bird. Bird had.
But that's not the point, man. That's not the
Hall
point.
of Famers on this team.
No, now we're changing the topic. That's not the point, though.
Magic Johnson has five Hall of Famers on his team.
And Michael Jordan has him and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson. It's just you Jordan fans always find a way to change the topic to something else, and then you get cornered to that. You go to a new thing. Like,
I'm not changing the topic. What I'm saying is that if you're comparing Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. We had to talk about the pieces that come with it.
Well, actually, I wasn't trying to compare them. I was trying to show you when you give these examples about Jordan's will to win, his killer instinct, he dominates players. I'm letting you know that you're elevating Michael Jordan over everyone else who did those things. That's called cherry picking. That's selectively picking and choosing what you want to go by and just dismissing everyone else.
I'm not dismissing everybody else. No, I'm not.
Well, when you put Michael number one and put him over, that's dismissing what everyone else did. If 11 players have a will to win and 11 players dominate and 11 players can't be stopped and 11 players are really good, and you go, out of those 11, I'm going to pick this guy number one and then put everyone else lower. That is dismissing them and cherry picking things for Michael Jordan.
Nah, it's not. It's like
okay,
it's like this. You got 11 players, right? 11 players might be good, right? They might be almost great, but Michael Jordan was great. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, but I'm saying those 11 players are great too. They're Hall of Famers, legends. They do wonderful things.
They're Hall of Famers, but they're not. But they didn't do the things Michael Jordan did on the court.
And Michael Jordan didn't do some of the things that they did on the court.
Absolutely, yes, that's true. But just looking at his stats, just looking at everybody else's stats.
Okay.
Michael Jordan was clear cut.
Well, I thought you acknowledged he didn't have the best. I thought you acknowledged he didn't have the best stats. Are we going back to that?
He when it comes to points, when it comes to being an all-around player, LeBron and Mike LeBron has better stats.
I don't know why this went back to LeBron again, but okay.
Well, no, LeBron has better stats all around.
I'm still confused why you're bringing up LeBron James. I mean, the point is that there are lots of stars who are all-around players. I don't understand why Jordan fans always bring up LeBron James.
Because they're compared. That's why they're being compared.
That's
they probably shouldn't be compared either. Like, now that I think about it, they probably shouldn't even be compared. They're two different players.
They are, yes. But how come you don't apply that logic to Michael Jordan and the other players that you're picking over? When you pick Mike over everyone else, you don't do the same thing.
Who would you? Okay, so, all right, cool. I have a question. And help me out.
Okay, we could do this. Remember, I don't want you to think I'm ducking and dodging. I will happily answer your questions, but we're still on something else, and you're going to something else.
Okay, all right, let's stay on that then. Okay, cool.
Let's just establish this, all right? So before we continue, I want to find out what you think. Let's just when people have a disagreement, one thing to help is to establish the facts. So you believe that Michael Jordan has the biggest will to win, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you believe he is a pound for pound number one player, right?
Yes.
And you believe that he dominated more than other players, right?
I believe he dominated. Yes, I believe he dominated more than other players.
Okay,
yes.
and you believe he's the number one player of all time, right?
I believe he's a GOAT. Yes,
okay.
100%.
Okay, so when it comes to will to win, can you prove that? When it comes to pound for pound, can you prove that? When it comes to dominating the most, can you prove that? And when it comes to number one player of all time, can you prove that?
You can't prove will to win. You can't.
Okay, so how do you know he's number one will to win?
You can't prove will to win because that's like, even though I ran a race and I lost a race, right? That doesn't mean that guy just had more talent. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So
like, he's faster, he was better, he prepared better than I did.
Okay.
My will to win might be bigger than that guy, but if he's more talented and better than me, my will doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Michael Jordan had the will to win and the talent and skills to back it up. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, but how do you know his things were number one over everyone else then? I'm still waiting for you to prove those things. Now, I know you said you can't prove that he has the biggest will to win, but then how do you know he has the biggest will to win?
That's not something it's not a tangible thing you can prove.
But then you come to a conclusion and you claim that he has number one will to win.
I'm somebody when I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong.
Okay. So does he have the biggest will to win?
Hold on real quick. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
All right. Okay, everyone, just to give you an idea, he asked me to call him back in about 10 minutes. And I told him, we're on the program then. And he explained, okay, can you call me back in 5 minutes? So I'm going to call him back in 5 minutes. And it will be edited out.
So, basically, what you're saying is that Michael Jordan isn't the best player because other players did what he done before, right?
Michael Jordan is not the number one player of all time.
All right, cool. So if he's not, then who is? Because I'm not sure anymore at this point.
Yeah, there's no such thing, man.
There's no such thing?
No.
There's no such thing as the best player of all time?
No, there's not. there's just so many great players, man. And if you're gonna rank players, if you're gonna there's a lot of noise. Are you doing something, man?
No, I'm sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
That's fine. Okay, so I edited some of this out. About 2 minutes go by, so now I'm going to restart it.
You were saying that there's no such thing as the best, greatest all-time player.
Now, what I was going to explain before you had to go, the last time when you put on hold or something, if you're going to rank NBA players, if you're going to rank them, then the way to rank them is you go by statistics and records. And so Michael Jordan, doesn't have the best statistics and the best records, or the most records or anything like that. Do you still think he's number one and that he dominated the most and he's pound for pound the best and his will to win was number one?
Well, you know what, man? I'm thinking about that, and me not being emotional about it because I'm a Jordan fan, but me just being a person, you can't. Okay, like, it's not like sales, right? Like, if you sell 20K and I sell 25K, right, I'm better because I sold 5 more K than you, right? And if I've done it every month, I'm better than you, but sports is a little bit different because I think what you said was correct. You can't really compare. It can't really be a greatest all-time player because not only does the era changes, like, three-pointers did not matter in the 90s, but now they do. And that makes Steph a Hall of Famer and Klay Thompson a Hall of Famer because of that.
Hey, please subscribe. And if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.